Welcome back to the Backyard Basketball Podcast.
Liquid smoke.
Presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. I'm Brandon Della Coltman. I'm here with Christian Steck. We are a game or two into the NBA playoffs. We got some exciting news to talk about. Chris, how you doing?
The late night hour.
It's the late night. The late show.
We just finishing up on some games. I'm chill, man. I'm doing good.
You're chill. We just saw John Morant go out with an apparent injury. Hopefully that's not too bad.
Oh man, that didn't look good. It's never a good sign when you see a young player and they're putting ice on their legs.
It's never good.
No,
It's never good for any player putting ice on their legs.
Anytime I see that, I remember one person made a reference to this once about John Morant and the way that Ja attacks the hoop made them feel reminiscent of Derrick Rose. That's my fear. Like when you see ice in your legs and the way he plays, and I mean he's been so good to injury up until recent. Maybe it's just bad stint. I don't want to put bad. I don't want to put.
Yeah,
bad,
don't jinx this. Don't jinx it. He'll be fine.
Bad energy out in the world.
He'll be fine.
He's gonna be good. He'll be good. It's just preemptive.
So you keep asking me what my beef is with Marcus Smart.
Oh, I love this. Okay.
So Marcus Smart is just a chippy player. He's a grinder. He hustles, and he often rubs people the wrong way. There are other players in the league similar to this: Patrick Beverley, Kyle Lowry to some extent, just to name a few. And Marcus Smart was awarded the Defensive Player of the Year. The first time a guard has brought that trophy home since, I think, 95, 96, when Gary Payton did it with the Seattle Supersonics. That's so. You keep asking me what my beef is with Marcus Smart, and I have to lay that to rest, I think, right now, because he deserves mad respect for being able to have a season like he's had, where at the beginning of the season, he was kind of written off as being the troublemaker in the locker room, the thing that was not working for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He wanted them to pass more. He wanted this, and this. The leadership he has shown this season for those players, for his team, with a new coach, a new GM, with Brad Stevens moving up, and then to bring home Defensive Player of the Year is, I tip my hat, man. I tip my hat to Marcus Smart. I still love to hate him. I think there's something fun about the kind of style of basketball he plays. But mad props. That's nuts, man. I mean, you must be just elated. You predicted this, but also here it is. He looked shocked too himself. Hey, he looked like he was surprised in receiving that award.
Yeah. Well, and I think exactly like you said, like it's been so long since a guard has gotten this award. That's crazy to think. Like you said, like the mid-90s, when the guard last time got Defensive Player of the Year. You know, it says about the talent that's come through, the way the game's played. I got no beef with, you still wanting to. I get that, man. That's totally fair with how he plays, because he plays like it wasn't intentional, but it's unfortunate circumstance in the way that he plays in his aggression that knocked Steph Curry out, who came back and has been playing, a couple games off the bench. That first game, he didn't look right. And, you kind of feel bad for him and, because of the circumstances, which I've, as just an aside, I was listening to a conversation recently and they brought up the point of seeing down the road in the future. The one guy put it like, when you dive for the ball, like say if it's diving, the ball's going out of bounds and you like dive for the ball to try and get the ball inbounds or something like that. It's more fair game, because you don't see, as he sees it, the other way, where a person's diving for the ball when it's within the court and you got multiple guys, you're diving at legs. It just seems such a recipe for disaster, for injury. the majority of the time. Like I would be curious, like, to look through the Rolodex of like, video highlights of players getting injured because of somebody diving for a loose ball. And I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting observation. Will they maybe change that at some point down the road? Who knows? But the thing that I love about, to take it back to Marcus Smart, the thing I love about him is he is the engine. He is what makes the Boston Celtics go. And he's been that for like, I think a long time. That was his identity. Like early on, he comes on to the league. He was drafted, I think, like top 6 or 8, I can't remember, of his particular year. And I remember the year that Boston drafted him, like the presumption was him coming onto the team. He already had a knack for like this energy, this intensity about him. So the defense, they said, okay, that's easy. We can plug him into. And that's a good question too. I don't remember what university he went to, but like early on in his career, I know he
went to Oklahoma State.
He had a desire to shoot. I think like when he was in Oklahoma, he was putting up some points. So you come on, and like I know when Marcus Smart was on the Celtics, like it was pretty. The emphasis and priority was always kind of focused. I felt like, on other things. Like he kind of was second tier. I remember when he was really young and came on, and we had Kyrie and Gordon Hayward comes over. Those are the primary focus. We got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. These are the 2 main guys that we're developing. And it's like, as Marcus Smart, where do you find your place in the mix of this team? And I don't know. I feel like he ended up evoking a personality that the team has adapted and is like grown on over the years. And that in turn too, because maybe of his style of leadership is butt heads and created like some of those issues and ripples, like the way that he would, take those shots, those like 3-point shots, it's funny. I remember Bill Simmons always made this point. Marcus Smart is the only player in the NBA playing right now who plays better the less shots he takes. I mean, maybe there's some other players like that, but he is a definitive.
There's one guy I can think
clear,
of. But it's true. It's true. It's like what kind of energy you bring to the floor. It's Draymond Green, another defensive player of the year. It's totally. That same kind of, they butt head. Totally. They're kind of the spark plug for the team, and it works really well. And it's fun to hate Marcus Smart. It's fun to hate Draymond Green. If you're not a Warriors fan. But for the Celtics, when you look at the makeup of what they're building, they signed him to a 4-year deal in the offseason, keeping him around in this thing. And then he goes and wins Defensive Player of the Year, and they finish second in the East. I would not have predicted that kind of
the number 1 defensive team these last, since January.
Well, and I mean, I'm looking at some of the votes for Defensive Player of the Year. Robert Williams III had 2 votes, 1 first and 1 second vote for Defensive Player of the Year. So you've got two Celtics in the top 9 for votes. That's
let alone
pretty handy.
Let alone you've got 2 perimeter guys with such length in Brown and Tatum that's guarding that that 3-point line. It's a crazy team. And it kind of makes me think too, like when, they said it was right around January when the switch happened. It felt like it was a switch. This team was like so discombobulated. Like you said, the start of the season and up until December, they were like a 500 team. I didn't feel much confidence in them. And it was like bringing up the conundrum. They were saying like at that point, leading up to the trade deadline, what is the best asset we could get for Jaylen Brown? Is this been enough time of evidence of piece of work to lay out over these last couple of years to say these two, it can't work together for whatever reason. In January with the new coach, everything, boom, switch hits. They become this defensive intensity team. There's so many things that you could look at with Ime Udoka. Like he always said early on too, he's like, I want to toughen these guys up. It's going to take time, but I want to toughen them up. Who is the toughest guy on this team? It's Marcus Smart. So it's like part of me also thinks that it's no wonder this is the year that he gets Defensive Player of the Year, because this whole team has fully 100% invested in this guy. as being that motor, being that leader, that he's the one that turns on that ignition and makes it go. And I was really concerned when Robert Williams was injured, of course, because of their defense, but I couldn't, uh, undermine enough, what Marcus Smart brings to the table. I go on and on, but I'm feeling good.
So they're up. They're up 1-0 in the series.
Up 1-0 gets the series. Kyrie Irving gave a bunch of middle fingers. He got fined $50,000 today for that, by the way.
That makes sense. I mean, I think that's just standard practice if somebody flips the bird, especially in the direction of a fan. Do you think he should be putting up with that kind of thing? Like, how do you feel? How do you feel about? I mean, I guess you're quite biased in your feelings towards Kyrie Irving, but
see, it's a couple of things. I empathize. He made the point about there's only so much you can take in the post game about trying to give reason to his actions. And you know what? I empathize with that. I could understand being in how things went. It wasn't the most ideal ending. It was a pretty ugly breakup. There were some things on our end that maybe weren't great, but there was also things on his end. And I think the thing that really irks a lot of people is maybe they feel like lack of accountability.
You cut yourself off there trying to say respect.
Well, I was going to say responsibility, but it's more so like accountability, because it's not, like the thing that I think upset me the most as a Boston Celtics fan is when he made the comment about, I like to the shareholders when there was like the big gala that they had, or not shareholders, the season ticket holders.
Yeah.
Shareholders looking at this business.
They kind of are.
Yeah, right. I guess in a way. But anyways, all these wealthy people, and he made this comment. He's like, I'd love to be on the team if you'll have me. And like gave all of these reasons, like at one point in the season that he was going to resign and stay with us, and then he just like leaves, and how he just gave up on the team in the finals against Milwaukee. That was just the most disgusting series, man. I gotta say, it was like so just I couldn't watch it, man. It was so bad.
You think that was all Kyrie?
Bad. Dude, he didn't even show up to the last game. He wasn't even in the freaking arena for our last game that we had to compete. He was so checked out, dude. He was so. I remember
was he
him.
Injured? Why wasn't he there?
No. Well, it was like it was some injury, but it would not have refrained him. It was like an injury, like maybe with Scotty Barnes. You just have a little boot on, you could sit on the sidelines with his team, support his team. He wasn't even in the fucking arena. I don't even know if he was in the city, man. This dude, he just like. One was like, oh, I'm going to take on Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then Giannis comes at him, and he just rolls to the side. Like, he literally, it's like when you're playing, if anybody out there plays games, and you're playing a competitive game, and some person on your team just decides, fuck it, we're already down, like, there's no way we're going to win this game, I'm not invested anymore, and just runs it down mid, dude. That's what Kyrie Irving did to end his run at the Boston Celtics. And that's why all the fans... they score him the way they do, and they know that saying shit, which we've always heard Boston fans do in that city, to Kyrie, and the way that he acts, they're antagonizing him. They're wanting to get a rise out of him.
Oh, they're the most ruthless fans in all of sports, I think.
Philly is number one. Philly is 100%.
Okay, maybe Philly is. Boston is notorious for having racist remarks and like just aggressive behavior.
Well, hey, hold on. I don't know about that with racist remarks.
Well, that goes beyond the Bruins, the Red Sox, Celtics. All have that narrative. Oh, they've all experienced that from their fans before.
Every single team could be held to account for that. But New York, Boston, Philadelphia. Those are probably like your three major cities where you got some, a very impassioned fan base. Let's say that. Disregard the assholes. It's an impassioned.
Disregard the respect.
So accountability. That is the word of the day. The word of the Backyard Basketball Podcast is brought to you by accountability. Be more accountable. Anyways, Kyrie, yeah, whatever. It's gonna happen. We're just gonna have to get over it. Play these games. It's crazy also, though, in spite of the situation, and he's in Ramadan, that he dropped 39 points.
Oh my.
He played like some shots, dude. He made that game. If you watch the highlights of it, it's just like you're gonna make that shot, and he makes them. He's
He's one
incredible.
of the most talented basketball players out there. And for me, I wish it wouldn't. I mean, I don't know how it doesn't affect you, but I wish that there was just no response, like
What do you mean no response?
from him.
Oh,
Like, I wish
yeah,
that he
no,
wouldn't respond to the
totally.
kind of
Well,
antagonizing because it
it
just
wouldn't.
feeds it, right?
Exactly. It wouldn't. But you also in the heat of the moment, you're getting at probably every moment people like I heard so this Bill Simmons he was at game 1 and he made this comment. He said they were doing the national anthem at the beginning of the game. There was a moment of breath in between like two stanzas of the national anthem. And apparently somebody in like the second scansion of the arena just like cried out over it onto the arena floor, like "You Kyrie, you suck" or something like that. Like it came out so crystal clear. So like I mean, the whole game getting that at some point, I too would probably like turn to a guy and be like, "Fuck off," or whatever.
Sure,
It's
sure.
gonna be interesting to see what happens, the rest of the series if we get under his skin, because obviously that might affect his play. Um, the last thing I want to say about that game before we move on, or anything you have to say about this game, the fact like that how well we contained Kevin Durant and how close that game was. If we lost that game, oh, by the way, too, whoever hasn't seen it, look at the last 8 seconds. Play of that game is incredible. It's one of the best. It's just incredible buzzer beater. Amazing
It's
move
very good
by some
basketball.
guys. But the fact we contained Kevin Durant as we did, and if we would have lost that game, I think it would have been so deflating, man. I don't think the Celtics could have come out of that series if they. It was like that game felt like a game 5, like Eastern Conference Final playoff game. Like it was just so intense. It was so intense.
It was a lot of fun to watch. And I think we could predict a very similar experience in game 2.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great, man. It's gonna be great.
Because Brooklyn will not let them get off the hook that easy.
We're 2-0, baby. 2-0. I'm telling you. We're gonna do it.
So the
Yeah.
Boston fans are they're heating up on Kyrie Irving. What do you think? How bad do you think the heckling at the Toronto Raptors game back in Toronto is going to be? Not against Philly, but against the refs.
Again, big against the refs. Very big.
Like,
Very big.
I wish it wasn't the case, and it sucks to even have to talk about it. But the discrepancy at the foul line and the foul calls in both the first 2 games of the Raptors, it doesn't leave you with a good taste in your mouth.
It's just
At the
not.
same,
It's not equal.
it's not equal. It doesn't have to be equal, but the you want the calls to be consistent
That's it. That's it.
and predictable, knowing that's a foul.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we know that,
Yeah.
so that there isn't any even opportunity for a discussion about it or reviews. Like, it's not the ref's fault. I want to be clear about this. We have to be able to not let Embiid get to the line so many times. They have to be more physical. They have to. But the challenge in that is being more physical leads to more whistles often than not. So where's the balance, and who's it going to come from? Because the matchups with Precious Achiuwa and Boucher were okay. They were okay. Birch played pretty well defensively against Embiid. They just
he accrued, but I will say those caveat. I felt Ken Birch accrued a lot of fouls early on in that first quarter that put Embiid to the line 11 times or something like that. Like, you're not going to win if you do that. You're not gonna, and I get it, the whole foul call goes into that, but man, you gotta get him off the line, and yeah, you got to find help, and that's I was kind of surprised after watching these first 2 games, and I mean, knowing that the Raptors played in the season, but really looking at the team and how the rotations were happening and looking at the options to try and match up in this series, that there is like there isn't as much depth as I guess maybe I anticipated. So I'm looking with the guys that they have, and it's like more like function of what they can do collectively. What thoughts do you have, man? Like I'm
Well,
kind of lost.
I want to be the first to say I don't think that there's a sweep still in place. I think that home, coming back to Toronto will add
We'll
an
win
added
one. Go
boost.
win one.
I do think that they will. I do think that they will win one. Um, but I don't think that they have a chance of winning any games in Philly after what we saw. If they can tighten up that like the turnovers, they have to attack more themselves. They have to attack Embiid and put him in a position to foul. Even if you're not making buckets, make it harder on Embiid down low. And I think that I mean, James Harden has been putting in the buckets that you anticipate him putting in, but he has been making really strong plays and assists that are timely. It's hard. It's a hard scout. I don't know once you kind of take a double team onto another, like onto Embiid, or it's hard to predict. But you look at the games that they had during the season, and they really did shut them down. They really did have a way to kind of work around what Philly is good at. And I mean, the loss of Scotty Barnes, injuries are always going to be a problem. We've played with players out, but in the playoffs, it's kind of a now or never situation, and every team is kind of out to kill. So they gotta just kind of come back with full force. They're not out of it. So, and they've been in a situation like this before. Granted, they've had healthy players and top tier players. You really start to see the loss of Lowry in a team like this when they went on that
Mhm.
slide. Like you kind of want that consistency to just tamper the or just stop the bleeding, at least for a few of those stretches. But also, I mean, end of the game, more points win. So you got to make your shots. That's what it comes down to. You have to make your shots, and that's also finding more opportunities for high percentage shots. There's some plays where you're just throwing that away. There's no reason for those kinds of things. You're you know getting anxious around the shot clock, or getting anxious for double teams or traps, or they can work around all of it. And I just hope that we see some of that in Toronto.
Yeah, man. No, I agree with you. I think if Gary Trent Jr. can come back and be healthy, if he can like even just rack you like 15 points, you know, uh, it puts you within striking distance. And then you have to have like any one of those guys. If it's going to be Van Vliet, Gary Trent, Pascal, maybe even OG. Who knows? Like a big night,
Yeah,
dropping lots of
yeah.
points. It gives you a puncher's chance. So yeah, man, it's just like, and irregardless of like how this, in my perspective, I mean, of course, I'd love to see Toronto whoop Philly's butt. There's no team that I hate more right now than that team. I just, man, ugh. Besides Tyrese Maxey, he's a gem. He's a gem. Great guy. Love how he plays. And kills us for whatever reason. He always kills us. But having like not Scotty Barnes there, like
That's huge. It's really
it
big.
just sucks. Like
It also, yeah, it's
great experience for him, and I think like you would see, some thread would have been really established that you could really build off of, and
well, yeah. You see the impact that kind of a player makes on any team, but specifically the Raptors. Like he is really a part of that.
that's
Uh,
part of the identity of like you have this ultimate weapon of like five switchable guys that can be anywhere and guard
Anywhere.
almost any position. This
We
guy's a
don't
huge
really
cog to all
have
that.
Yeah, we don't really have I mean, offensively, we've got a nice matchup with Precious and Joel Embiid, but yeah, you could really see it in game two where we didn't have Scotty to take some of that heat off the other guys posting up Joel or at least slowing him down, wearing him down. That's what you need. It was nice to see he got early, an early tech, but where's the attack, right?
Yep.
Keep going at him. Tire him out so that game 3 and game 4, he's tired. Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, I hear you. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
You think it's over already, though?
Yeah. I think, like I said, I don't think they'll be swept, but I think this is 5. It's a wrap.
It's still, I mean, we weren't really supposed to be, let alone what were we, the 5th seed? Like, I thought maybe the play-in. I didn't even think we were playoffs.
True.
I was so surprised by Scotty and what the impact of Precious Achiuwa was, and how Freddie really. I mean, I knew Freddie was going to step into his own, but not to carry them the 5th seed. And maybe that speaks more to the bottom half of the East. But they had a pretty. I mean, finishing above Chicago was quite the surprise to me.
Oh, for sure. They're a very competitive team, and. Yeah, man, I think they exceed a lot of expectations. It's still not over yet, but
still not over yet. Yeah, also still not over yet. Golden State and the Nuggets.
Oh no, that's over. That is over. I'm going to tell you this right now. The one team out of the West that I'm like, oh god, I'm actually kind of scared for Phoenix. It is going to be a juggernaut of a. It's like literally. You got Godzilla and was it Mothra? I want to make sure I get this right.
Who's who?
Yeah, friggin' Mothra. The two of them in the city just battling each other. Probably Phoenix is Godzilla and Golden State's maybe Mothra in this go. But I'm telling you, man, Golden State and Curry's off the bench. Game 1 didn't look very good. Didn't look very good. I was talking about Mark Smart, right, with the injury coming back. Game 2, off the bench, drops 30-some points. He, I had it right here. Dude drops 34 points in 22 minutes.
Wow.
You've got Poole drops 29 points. And Thompson drops 21 points. Man, and you got Draymond back. If this team stays healthy, they step on their own. They're gonna really. The only lack that Golden State has is center position. Wiseman is not really panning out.
Wiseman's out. Yeah. And what Bielitsa is? Bielitsa playing that position?
He's playing, yeah, and he's good. He's good, but it's small. Yeah. It's small lineup. DeAndre Ayton can feast, but man. Or crazy, and I mean that Nuggets team. It sucks. I can't. Man, Jamal Murray's been out forever.
Oh my gosh, man! ACL sprains or a tear since last April.
That's a year.
A whole year, man. A whole year sitting on that bench, and it's crazy because you look at what they've got and where they are. I mean, Jokic, in my hope, still gets this second MVP, but add Jamal Murray back to that. They could be really, really scary. And they're getting just torched by an unfortunate luck of the draw here with playing the Warriors in the first round. I'm still against the idea of a game in. Now it's been 2 games in, but a game in Milwaukee, Chicago being oh no, that's it, that's done. It's there is a series still here yet to be had, and I think Denver.
Oh, no, that one's done too. Milwaukee's that's a wrap. That is not even something we need to entertain on this pod.
Well, I think there'll still be a series, man. I think Chicago's going to put up a fight.
No.
I do.
No, they're going to put up a fight, and they're going to get stomped. It's going to be like the Bigfoot Monty Python.
Milwaukee's won 1 game.
And it's over. I'm telling you, dude. We're talking unless we're talking Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not even going to say. Yeah, he scored 27 points, 16 rebounds. Got to the line 11 times.
That's 1 game. They've lost games too.
I hope DeRozan. I hope DeRozan, plays well. And
this is what I'm saying. I'm saying if this team can. I mean, again, it sucks that they don't have their playmaker in Lonzo on this team.
Question: How long do you have this series going? What's your winner of this series?
$6 and 6.
Bucks and six.
Yeah.
So we gotta
I
get
still
two. We
think,
gotta get two.
yeah. Well, we predicted on the Ray and Benny podcast that the Bucks were going to win it. The Bucks were going to do a repeat. And I think it was against this. Oh, no, I had the Lakers. Oh, God. Was it the Lakers? No, we picked the Suns. Suns and Bucks.
Yeah, Suns and Bucks. I think
A
it was a
repeat.
rematch. Yeah.
Who knows what will happen? I do think the Miami one's going to finish out in Atlanta.
That's a sweep.
No, not a sweep. Not a sweep.
Oh, okay.
5,
Okay.
maybe. The Hawks
They're up 2-0 right now. And
Yeah,
and Jimmy Buckets just dropped massive amount of points.
This podcast will come out after the game, but the Pelicans are currently up over Phoenix by 2 points going in midway through the third quarter. Do you think they could sneak this out?
Okay, can we talk about this? Because I secretly got to tell you, man, I've watched every except this game because we're recording the pod right now. I watched the first Pelican Suns game. I watched both Pelican play-in games. I love this Pelicans team, man.
Yeah, what do you love about them? Herb Jones, Alvarado.
Yeah, so
JB?
both those guys. Love both those guys. Alvarado is like your Patrick Beverly energy guy. He's a blue chip guy, chip on his shoulder kind of guy. Like,
see all those plays he makes, just hiding in the corner and stealing on those inbound plays.
It's nuts. Herb Jones, which has like a name like something straight out of like the 40s or whatnot.
Hattie Jones.
He is incredible, man. He is so good. Great young talent. This, it's just like watching Brandon. This was the one thing I thought to myself. When is Brandon Ingram going to become? When is he going to do it? When's he going to take that leap?
He's
like
not.
This is a guy for a number of years now. He's a second overall pick for a number of years now. Was on the Lakers and went over to New Orleans.
And the AD trade.
He puts up big numbers in games where they don't win. And you're always like, okay, but he's not got to that great level. And when they say always ubiquitous amongst all great players, the great players, they make everybody else better. And the way that I've been watching Brandon Ingram play this season at stretches and like so far in the playoffs here, I feel like he's starting to make that leap. It's not only he's putting up great numbers, there's a consistency there, but how he play makes, facilitates his passing, man. I'm telling you, like this team is surprised me. And I'm looking at this Pelicans team and I'm thinking to myself about Zion, who's sitting on the bench and like, when the hell are we going to see this guy? But man, even if he had discontent, he can't. If I was him, I can't help but looking at this team and be like, oh, there's something here. There's something here. If I can step into it and be even only maybe 80% of what people expected me to be, like this can be a great team, man. And the other thing, which I wish I could pull his name off the top of my head, what's the coach's name off the Pelicans?
Couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. But the guy that I think is the X factor still is CJ McCollum.
That too, man.
That's ridiculous. I mean, that was a great trade for a team that was just trying to get into the play-in. And now you've got an all-star, that kind of leadership around the team is something they haven't really, I want to say, ever had, at least for a long time. I can't think of a guy like AD was their star, but he wasn't that like veteran all-star that really makes the team gel. And New Orleans they have suffered for like over a decade now.
Long time, man. Valanciunas on this team. Yeah, you're right. McCollum there brings a level of confidence, I think, and an ownership of that. And you're just seeing all of these pieces that are coming together and gelling. And I think what you're noticing is you're starting to develop an identity, like teams such as Phoenix for a number of years has taken on, and look at where they've gotten themselves to. So I think there's something really, really here. Willie Green is the name of the coach of the Pelicans. Rookie coach, man. I watched. So it was like, I think going into the fourth quarter, and they were down. Like they were down. This was in the play-in game against the Clippers. They were down, I think, like 20 points at some point, and they chipped it back, and they were only down like within 10. It was like 10 or 12 points, and they're going into the fourth quarter. And Willie Green brings all of his guys in, and he gives this impassioned speech, pretty much like saying to everybody that, like, you know, we're doing all a good job, and, you know, remembering all the things we need to focus in on. And then he just got really impassioned, saying that we fight. Like it was almost tears in his eyes. He was so much conviction that he's like, we are going to fight, and we're not going to stop fighting, and we're not going to quit. We're never going to quit. We're never going to give it our all. Like, just like, you know, it's the same thing that, you know, Greg Popovich always says, is that it's like the one thing that he will never waver on in this accountability to his team is their like effort and intensity. Always has to be there. They always have to give a shit while they're out there and really wanting to get at it. It may go in their favor, it may not. He is at peace, is out of your control. Willie Green too. He's like, we're gonna keep fighting. They're literally like, we will just keep clawing back no matter what, no matter how far down we are. And they won that game. They turned that game around against Lou, against that Clippers team. Yeah, Paul George wasn't there, man, but it was such a good game. And I think, like, I'm telling you, I really felt like watching how they're playing so far this season, that there is like promise. There's significant promise compared to some of those lower barrel teams on the West. Way more promise than the Lakers have, man, you know, for the future.
Can you imagine?
They're looking
good. Can you imagine if they had a healthy, in his almost prime, Zion Williamson?
Zion Williamson. Yeah, man. I know.
Like, to the hype like, that Zion Williamson had. Like, where Ja Morant is at now, having gone before him. Can you imagine?
Yeah, man.
New Orleans. I'm just going to let Ellie drink.
She's thirsty.
Jesus. Trying to do a podcast over here. You think I don't give her any water? Wow. Dehydrated much.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
Do you like fast cars? Do you like when they race? Whether you're a seasoned Formula One fan or you've just discovered the rush of racing, check out the Pit Stop Podcast presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. Join Jordan, Tyler, and Braden each week as they recap every race as well as break down the biggest stories on and off the track, all before setting you up for the next race in the Formula One schedule. The Pit Stop Podcast is available anywhere you get your podcasts.
I want to ask you a question. Do you care at all about the Utah Jazz?
Was that rhetorical?
Well, like, just like, do you care? Like, do you care about the team? Are you interested in the team? Do you think they're cool? Like,
I you know, for the longest time, I've always just questioned why they maintained the name Jazz. You know, like, if you go to a new city, a new franchise, Supersonics, they moved to OKC, they changed their name to the Thunder. You know, the Grizzlies kept their name, but the Jazz just never made sense to a land full of Mormons in my mind. And I think there was a lot more opportunity and creativity they could have done when they moved the franchise. Now, they've got a storied history. They've got a lot of, Stockton, Malone, an impressive history as an organization. But today, you know, I am a big fan of Donovan Mitchell, and I'm excited by the fact Dwayne Wade has part ownership of the team, but beyond that, no, is the answer to your question.
Yeah, no, me too, man. I don't know. I could really give two shits. And I want it all to like, honestly, it's just with this team, it's just stale. It's just stale bread. I like all of it. Stale bread. It's predictable. You know what's going to happen. They shit the bed against Dallas without Doncic. I just like
that. So that series tied. That series is tied at 1 now.
Yeah, Luka apparently could come back for game 3 or 4. I mean, if he come back and be healthy, now I'm actually more interested because I want to see Luka. But
you're interested in Dallas Mavericks, and I too want to see the Dallas Mavericks and Luka have success in the playoffs. But no, the earlier this Jazz team is out, the earlier they'll blow it up. And maybe if Donovan Mitchell could find himself with a couple other uh, pieces that aren't Rudy Gobert, I think I'm just soured by Rudy Gobert, and that I think I told you this the other day. Like my memory of COVID and the NBA canceling was as a result to Gobert's touching of all the mics, and then having
And the
COVID,
jerseys.
and then everything shut down. So I kind of blame him, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He yeah, in a weird way, he's like patient zero in my mind.
yeah, and I don't know. There's something about him. He's been a really, really great defensive player. He's been an all-star in the league, but he's not. I don't know. Something just doesn't stand out to me about Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, that's fair, man. What? Yeah. What if he was on
Same.
Atlanta with Trae Young?
Yeah, that'd be cool. But I'm not a huge fan of Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks either. So
Well, so then he's a perfect fit if you're not a big fan of Atlanta.
yeah, they should trade Marcus Smart there. They could trade. Pat
Okay,
Bev
hold
could go
on.
there.
Hold on. Okay,
Anthony
we're
Edwards
getting a
could go
little
there.
delirious. Dude, okay, so last point. I am in love with Anthony Edwards. I
Oh, I
am
bet he's in love
just
with you, man.
infatuated. He is
Yeah.
incredible. He's going to be an amazing basketball player. He has poise. They did not do very well tonight, albeit they won game one. Everyone kind of thought, with this Minnesota team and Memphis, so Memphis is just going to be a clean slate. I mean, it sucks for Ja, like getting right into it. He was injured too, and he's been dealing with this kind of stuff. But, the fight that Minnesota has, how they play, I'm all for it. Let's see, what did he have? He had 20 points tonight, 7 of 16, 4 of 10 from 3 points. That's not great.
Mm-mm.
26 and 1. But I mean, this dude, he just, man, he puts up big numbers. He's a great defensive player too. When you watch him play, he looks like a linebacker. And his first step is, I think, one of the fastest first steps. And a guy who's like really muscular. So it's like, it's like the LeBron train in a way. Doesn't have as much that size, but he has that kind of force and power. How he just gets by you with the first step. I don't think a lot of guys in the league can keep in front of him. So Minnesota's got some good things. But, I mean, I don't know. I was feeling better about them. Who knows? That series could go long, man. What are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts on Ant-Man? I think he's
On
cocky.
Ant-Man, on
I
this
just think he's cocky.
series?
I mean, I like his I do
You're
like his
just a
confidence,
hater.
but to an extent, I think there's just something immature about him at the moment, and maybe he'll grow out of that. He is a character. It's fun. I think also just maybe because it's Minnesota. I don't know, man. I don't know the Ant-Man experience, the Ant and Cat. You have to have a 3-letter acronym or a 3-letter nickname to play on that team.
For 3 of them, for D'Lo and
D'Lo, Pat, Bev. He's got 2 nicknames to his. They're just his
yeah.
names, but abbreviated. Did you hear what Anthony Edwards named his dog?
What did he name his dog?
Anthony Edwards Jr.
Oh, nice.
He believes that he has the same confidence and can do anything.
100%.
It's legendary.
You should. So good for him. Good for him. He's good. They're gonna do well. They may not win this series, and they may. I think that's gonna go 7 games.
Heck, they could win the whole thing.
Who knows? Well, who they face in the second round? That'd be the 7th seed. They would be against
the 7th seed would
the
play,
Golden State, the Warriors.
Yeah, they got this.
Warriors team, man. They're good. It's gonna be crazy. We're gonna have the Warriors. We're gonna have Phoenix, and then we're gonna have Phoenix, and then on the other side we're gonna have Boston, and
Milwaukee,
whatever
Miami.
teams. It's just Boston though.
Toronto.
It's gonna be Boston, man. Boston all the way.
Boston. So who would Boston face in the second here?
In the second round? Well, it sucks, man. Actually, it's crazy to think. So if Philadelphia beats out Toronto. Hopefully Toronto puts out more of a fight. We need to throw a couple more Rocky-esque punches, wear this team out, because this Boston Brooklyn's a slugfest. Milwaukee Chicago, yeah, it'll be a battle. Then you're gonna have Milwaukee Boston. That's a slugfest. Philly goes against Miami. I don't know. I think Philly matches up better against Miami. Who knows? I always underestimate Miami. I'm like, it's Jimmy Butler. This is your best player. And I love Bam. He's my favorite. And I love Kyle. But I'm like, I don't know. And, they're playing pretty good. So maybe that'll be a slugfest. But maybe it'll be a walkover for Philly. And then Philly's, having to beat. If it's Boston, it's like you're literally like both your nose are like, your nose has been broken twice, like your arms in a cast. Like you're looking pretty rough.
Well, yeah, and I think if you're Boston, you want to try to get as close to a sweep as possible so that you're not as exhausted going into a very hard second round, regardless of who you're facing. You want to try to ease that load before. I mean, I think every team's trying to do that, but which is why I really want the Raptors to try to body that team harder so that it's just hard.
And I get flipping fouled for it.
Well, part of that is the ref calling it, but a huge part of it is sticking to the game plan and not finding yourself out of position or out of situation where you're at risk for a call going that way, because they can do it. They absolutely can do it, and the focus is now going to be on that. So I think that's just part of the pendulum of how calls go. Usually it helps like in the game, but definitely didn't. We just whistle after whistle after whistle. All right, dude. Well, let's do it again next week.
Sounds good, brother. Best of luck to our teams. Hopefully we do continue to do well. Ciao, brother.
That's all I gotta say. Hopefully they'll do better. Thanks everybody for listening to the Backyard Basketball Podcast presented by the Podcast Network. Catch you next week.
Liquid smoke.
Accountability.